Hello, dear viewers and listeners of the podcast Caught in the Motion. With me, the main host, Yavor Ivanov, and with my favorite co-host, Kubrat Ivanov, more known as Kubi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Today we are joined by a very special guest named Aurimas Jurgutis. He is a graduate from the National College of Ireland, also TUD, the Technological University of Dublin, and is currently working in the Department of Social Protection as a mid-level ICT specialist. So, hello Aurimas, how are you feeling today?
Hello, Kubrat. I'm feeling very nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, it's our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for coming along today. My first question is, Aurimas, where are you from, and how long you have been in Ireland?
So I am from Lithuania. I moved to live in Ireland from 2009. I've been living here for almost 14 and a half years, almost 15 now.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what age were you roughly around 2009 when you moved in?
So I was around the age of 10 when I moved in. I was around 10 and a half to be precise, but yeah, I was around 10.
Yeah, and what would be your first memory when you came to Ireland? Was it the language difference, or was it the weather? Would you have any sort of core memory from the first moments when you stepped into Ireland?
To be honest, I didn't find the transition much difficult because in school I've taken English courses, like extra English courses at my school. So integrating wasn't very difficult because I pick up languages fairly easily, because I actually, before I moved to Ireland, I could speak Lithuanian, of course, and I could speak a bit of Russian as well. I could read Russian, I can understand it very well, but my speaking language isn't great even now, So integrating, the language and that, it wasn't difficult at all, to be honest.
Okay, there wasn't no cultural shock.
Not really, no. The cultural shock, no, there really wasn't. The only cultural shock that I noticed is that, here in Ireland, the people here are very friendly. I was even told this by an Irish person. They're very friendly, but they're very difficult to make friends with.
But I thinking that for a young person, especially from European countries, because the language, if you're coming from China, is much more difficult. But generally speaking, young people from Europe coming to Ireland, even they're not natural speakers. When you're younger, it's easier to pick up the language.
Yeah, exactly.
Then coming with me, which I wasn't old when I came in Ireland, 24, but still it was a bit more difficult than somebody who came, say, 10 or 15 year old.
Yeah, exactly. And now, what made you go into your current field? Was there anything as a child from when you were young, or was it only when you were...
I liked computers from a young age. I liked working with them, I like gaming and stuff, I liked working with them, tinkering with them. But when I was 18, when I finished school, I wasn't sure what kind of field I should take. And coming out from a bit of pressure from my parents, I took mechanical engineering because, I liked physics, I liked maths. And in the first year, everything was going well, but then in the second year, I started to find, everything boring, and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to do this. So I went on through the course entirely. I graduated, and then I picked up a course. It's a springboard course. It was in computer science. Yeah. It was a 1-year course. It was a conversion course for people who are coming from STEM, so science, technology, engineering. And, I don't know what the answer is for. But you get the drift. Yeah. So I took that course, and then I went on to do a software development apprenticeship. Yeah. Which I found it to be very, very educational. Very nice. The first company I worked for had a very. It was very very friendly towards people like us because they usually hire computer science graduates, whereas us, we don't have that much of computer science knowledge. So it was a very nice sort of experience, and then I moved on to work for the Department of Social Protection because I was actually working there as a contractor. So I was placed in a team that we were as a team of contractors in my previous company. And I decided to make the move there as a department employee because I thought to myself, this is a great atmosphere, they're very supportive, they cover your educational expenses because I might, want to take some further education. Yeah. So I decided to take my career, with the department. So
excellent. It's good that this opportunity arises. And here is maybe related to what you said. My next question is about: do you have any plans to develop further your career, and how do you see yourself in in long term?
I do. Yeah, I have plans to develop myself into a project manager role. But as the years come by, I want to build up more experience and maybe do some educational courses. Maybe perhaps take even a master's degree. So yeah, I do have plans. So I plan to become like a project manager. There's different kinds of levels of project managers. So there's the team managers. There's the department managers. So they're in charge of one single IT department. So I have my goals set up straight.
Excellent. And what will be your advice to young people who like you? They have some experience with the computers and computer science and in your field, and they wanted to continue their study in university. What will be your advice to them? I mean, where to focus or whatever. What will be your advice to these young people?
I would say work hard is the almost number one advice, because computer science, even for me, doing a conversion course, which is from what I heard is actually more difficult than the computer science degree, the full 4-year computer science degree. So what I can say is, just enjoy yourself, but work hard.
You have to work hard.
Maybe
I repeat myself, but in one of the other episodes as well, I said that we come to the realization that no matter if you're doing sports or science or whatever it is, to achieve really great goals, and you have to get out from your comfort zone. I mean, you're enjoying it, but also sometimes you have to push yourself to study more and work harder to achieve the goals.
Exactly, yeah. Like computer science is a broad array of subjects. It's a broad array. Like they teach you programming. They teach you about computer hardware. How computers work. There's a wide array of subjects, and I can guarantee you that you're probably not gonna like every single one of them.
Of course,
so what I can say is. Just do good in the subjects that you like,
develop and keep going on, and
the previous guest was IT as well, but he was focusing on computer applications. So he. Our friend Kellyan, he was focusing on that area of the computer science. So it's fit what you saying now, that you have to focus on exactly this part of. For example, in the computer science, to develop there, you can't just go everywhere and bother, or you can't really. It will be impossible.
But it's also one of those careers that you have to go into only if you like it, because it's not one of those jobs where you can push through and you're in the middle, like I'll work. It's a lot of material, it's a lot of learning, and you have to really like it. I guess like history in some aspects. If you don't like reading books, well, it's not the subject.
You're not going to do well.
Exactly. So kind of shifting the momentum, what would be the one thing that you miss the most from Lithuania?
The weather. Definitely the weather, yeah. I don't want to sag on Ireland's weather, of course. But the Lithuanian weather is much, much better. I definitely miss the weather. We usually have winters with full of snow, and we have very warm winters as well, like reaching up to 30 degrees. So I would say the weather probably would be the most the best thing that I miss, the weather, definitely.
And as a historian, I can't stop myself to say one very important historical fact, which is linked between Lithuania and Bulgaria. One Lithuanian king, great king, Vladislav III Jagellov, died from our freedom in Varna. That's why it's called Vladislav Varnechik. Great king, and the Bulgarian people haven't forgot that he sacrificed his life and his troops for trying free in gas. So I don't know if you thought of that, but there is a connection between Bulgaria Lithuania, even though the two countries look very far, both in the Eastern Europe, but very far from each other. So.
Yeah, I didn't know that fact until recently. Actually, I was reading more about Lithuanian and Bulgarian history, and I saw this Battle of Varna. It was a large coalition fighting against the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah, but the leader was a Lithuanian man, the king,
the supreme leader,
yeah,
like
the
whole.
Okay. Yeah,
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So now you're to some extent a student. You're to some extent working, obviously, and you have your social life. The combination of the all three, how would you balance the three of them?
Well, there's actually a triangle based on this, and you can only pick two, okay? Two things. So it's either, getting some sleep, having a good social life, and having good grades. But you can only pick three. Two.
Yeah.
You can't pick three at the same time, because what happens is if you want a good social life and you want good grades, you're not going to get this. And that was a very well established fact when I started university. That really reflected on me. So you kind of have to keep a balance, but it's almost impossible to keep that balance.
And you have to sacrifice the pleasure to develop the career.
Exactly.
If you want to develop a career, forget about partying.
Exactly.
But even yesterday, my father and I were speaking about this, that it's this sort of imbalance that will take you far rather than a perfect balance. Because I'm starting to believe that when you've made those choices and you've chosen your priorities, you'll never really have a perfectly balanced schedule to where everything will be 50-50 or 30-30 and it just can't run smoothly. Yeah, exactly.
It's not possible.
I just, as a young man, I would like to ask you this question. I made it for today's standard, maybe very young, 29. What do you think, and I'd like to know the new generation, what you think of that topic. What do you think about marriage in general?
Marriage these days, living in this time can be very expensive, or just having a partner in general, I don't myself have a partner, so I can't really, put a very valid opinion, but from what I heard, it can be a very expensive ordeal, especially here in Ireland, but there's a lot of benefits with having a partner here in Ireland, It's easier to, say, for example, get a mortgage because you have two sources of income, and there's also like a lot of child-related benefits if you have any children, and things like that.
That's the financial part. But what do you think in
because a lot of people,
in general as a symbolic union between a man and a woman? What do you think? Do you think in financial part, how you pointed out, is important. If you're married, you have more benefits than if you're not. But what do you think the moral part, which is for you, it's old-fashioned to get married, or is something that
I definitely don't think it's old-fashioned. The tradition has gone on for thousands of years, and it's gonna keep going. And I really don't think it's gonna die out any soon. Marriage is a choice, Some people, want to get married. Some people don't want to get married. It just comes down to a choice. If I share your opinion, and I am married, obviously, but and it's approved by the scientists, the social scientists, and all scientists that community and a country that has more families, stable families, which are no broken families, marriages and kids. It benefits the whole state benefits because the children are brought to a better way. Have a discipline. It's no this confusion. Where is my dad? Where is my mom? So so I think it's. I share your opinion. I think it's also it's good for the society to have more stable families. I think it's all beneficial to everybody, to be honest with you, in my opinion, humble. Especially in this day and age, because especially in the Western world and in the worst case scenario, Japan, there's a very big demographic crisis, and it will make our lives very, very
also
better,
also in Europe, only Ireland is a positive growth of population. The rest of Europe, Italy, the big and the small countries, Germany, Italy, Spain, they're all declining in population. Bulgaria, Romania also, I guess probably Lithuania as well, yes. Because now people don't marry. There's many factors to contribute to this negativity, but I think a few of them is because they don't marry. They want to live their lives, have good time, leave it for late, or they don't marry at all, maybe have only one child. In Bulgaria now, very seldom you see families with 2 children. And my mother is coming from a family with 8. So my father got 2, but at least 2, you know. And nowadays, people, some young family, one of our guests share Professor Dylan Connor. He said that he was in a wedding and married couple, 3 of them said that we don't want to have children. We want to have a good time in ourselves, and that's it. So there is many things to contribute, but
Yeah, and I think it comes down to increasing industrialization and urbanization, because people work high or big our jobs, and the urbanization, they have to pay their bills and pay their rents, that they just
financial side as well
can't afford to have kids,
and also the crashes are very expensive, and when the child is sick, especially in Ireland, you can't bring the child to the crash, so you have to take a day off. But a lot of the private companies, they won't tolerate if you're missing too much work. And when they're small kids, they're getting sick often, unfortunately. I have experience. So, it's hard. You can as well, and that way you can't blame young people who don't want to have children or want to have just one and later in life.
But even statistically, in Ireland, so obviously classifying child 0 to 18 to take care of it, on average cost, average child, we're not saying just going to a private school, things like that, it would take you around 250,000 euros for one child throughout its whole lifetime. So there's roughly guest expenses for when it's sick, a certain percentile, the fees to school, the trips, the food.
And you have to account for inflation as well.
Exactly. So there was a statistic and a rough guess around in Ireland anyways that it takes for one child to be fully grown out up until the age of 18, it's going to cost 250,000 throughout that course of those 18 years.
Yeah, I know.
But saying that as well, my grandparents were very poor and they didn't stop them to have 8 children, even though my grandmother, I don't think she wanted to have 8, but my grandfather...
I think poverty is a very big factor with having children, because actually I was reading this article, and they were interviewing a woman in an African country, I can't remember which one, and they basically asked her why are you having so many kids, and she said, I'm having kids because because I'm poor. Because I'm poor, and I can get why, because she's having all these children in the hopes that these children will provide for her from when she's old.
She's old.
So.
Yeah, for the case in my grandfather as well, he wanted to have kids to help him in the field, in the
work
agriculture or work. So, but it's very complicated and deep issue. But still, I think it's more ability for young people to have kids than the negativities towards it.
I think that nowadays it's just overcomplicated. Before they have a child, obviously it's nice to have a plan roughly, can you afford it and things like that. But I believe that, obviously I'm only 16, not a plan anywhere near the future now, thank you. But in general, I think people overthink it sometimes and they stress too much about it. I feel like that pressure is relieved once the child's there and they actually get into the rhythm and the swing of actually having a child in their life.
But generally in life, it's good to have a plan. But I mean, if you're overthinking about the future, a lot of times doesn't happen what you really plan.
Yeah, when you overthink too far into the future.
Yeah, and sometimes going the wrong way or not the way you want it. So that's why I like the saying, we have the pencil, we write our plans with pencil, but the pen is in God's hands.
So you never know how it can go, obviously, in general. But for kids, I think with the 2 parents working, for an example, they could easily have a child or 2, and if they want to, obviously. And I don't think that there's anything stopping them, regardless of how much they're making. Now, a bit of a personal question, but what are your dreams in the future? Is it visit a specific country, or would it be more work focused, or?
Well, I think we established what my dream is. So my dream is to become a project manager, an IT project manager in the department. I do plan to stay in the department in the long term because their benefits and all the things they provide, the pensions, the things like that. It's just too good.
It's good. And you said the atmosphere is nice as well. It's very important in what kind of atmosphere you work. If you work in a toxic atmosphere, it's hard to stay long in such a job. And you said the people are very supportive, wonderful atmosphere you're working in. So,
yeah. Well, get a mortgage is obviously another dream of mine. Especially here in this country, it's quite difficult, especially if you're single. But for my occupation, salaries, a good salary isn't very much of a problem. But so there's that. And in terms of travel, let's say I always wanted to visit Japan. Because Japan is a very unique country. Their technology is amazing. I always wanted to visit Tokyo.
Of course.
I wanted to stand in that square where there's a lot of those zebra crossings. If you haven't seen on the TVs. At the very center of the city. And as for another travel, I would say I probably want to visit Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan,
because they have a lot of history, being on the ancient Silk Road, with China. They have a very rich history. But it's unbelievably hot there.
In the summer. Better go in the winter.
It's over 40 degrees or something.
Like in Bulgaria, it's actually 40 in the summer. Probably when you make this trip to Uzbekistan, should be in the winter time.
Exactly.
Maybe 20 degrees is bearable.
Exactly. It's the smartest thing to do. I also wanted to go to Turkmenistan, but Turkmenistan is kind of like the North Korea of Central Asia. They're very, very restrictive, and it's and also Uzbekistan is very hard.
Very restrictive, you can't really get there.
To getting a visa is very hard. I think only Russians are eligible to go there for like a work visa or something like that. I guess some places then to visit in Uzbekistan, I always wanted to visit the Aral Sea. The Aral Sea is mostly just evaporated. But I heard that the government are planning to revive it. Somehow. I'm not sure how, but they do have plans to revive it. So I think that's pretty much my travel plans for my life.
I think your aunt went to Kazakhstan, which is the closest to this. She went. In the new capital built there. She says it's interesting, but she felt a bit insecure because of the dictatorship there. She said. Okay, and my next question is there a big Lithuanian community now?
From what I know, now the most recent data that I've seen was like 4 or 5 years ago, is that over 100,000 Lithuanians live in this country, both in the north and in the south. So there is a big sprawling community. When I first came to Ireland, I was living in Navan, and I can say that there was definitely a large Eastern European community, and so there's a lot of Lithuanian people living there. And in Drogheda as well, there's a lot of Lithuanians living there, and even in the surrounding area where I live, there's a good bit of Lithuanians living in there. So finding Lithuanians in the whole of Ireland really isn't too hard. If you look in the right places, if you look at the local gym, in those kind of places, you will definitely find a Lithuanian. So,
would you have places where you could maybe there's a Lithuanian gathering of celebrating traditions and honoring them, or?
Well, there is. I know there's what are they called? Like a Sunday, well, not like a Sunday market, but they host like a market, like an open market, and they sell all kinds of Lithuanian stuff, food, drink, all these what do you call them? Like jewelry,
What would be the most liked alcohol drink in Lithuania? I guess it's vodka, or no?
Well, to be honest, it's perfectly varied. In the old times, they used to drink like a moonshine vodka called samogonas. Or samogon, as they call it in Russian.
In Russian, samogonas, I heard of it, Very strong stuff.
It is,
Well, Eastern Europeans, we are strong people, huh? I like to believe. And So, but do you have like Bulgarian government provide schools, support schools all over the world where is more Bulgarians living? Do you have a Lithuanian school on Saturday or Sunday?
I believe we do have like Lithuanian schools, both for like teaching the curriculum and like Saturday and Sunday, just to like for
the language,
history,
the same like the Bulgarian schools.
Of course, we do have a Lithuanian embassy here in Ireland, so whenever your passport goes bad, you can
go there. But, how do you feel about Lithuanian people in general? What's your observation? Do you believe that the Lithuanian people keep the traditions, or they kind of faded away as the time progressed?
Oh, I would say, they do keep their traditions. We're very strong with our traditions, especially women, we may call it, traditional foods, and, they're very strict on our traditions, So for example, like Easter, we celebrate Easter a little bit differently than others, and Christmas as well, we're not allowed to eat meat during Christmas. During Christmas Eve, we're allowed to eat meat only on Christmas Day.
The same like in Bulgaria, we don't eat meat on the night before you are allowed the next day. We keep that tradition also. Probably you don't have much time for a hobby or hobbies, but I'd like to ask you, do you have hobby or hobbies?
I do, I'm a very like a sedentary type of person. I'm very much into gaming and stuff still. But I still take part in that. I go to what do you call it? To take to the libraries. I like to sometimes stay there and just spend my time studying or reading a book or something. What would be your favorite topics if you read a book? Usually fantasy novels or history. I was actually reading a book about the Polish-Soviet War of 1918 to 1920. It's an interesting read, and the war itself is very much underestimated in history. So
that's interesting.
So
as a historian, I would like that to read about that.
And what games did you play?
The games that I play, the primary game that I play is Hearts of Iron 4, but so I play that most of the time, but I like the combat games that I used to play as a child sometimes, out of nostalgia, Counter-Strike 1.6. First people started. You play that, don't you? You should point me to a Bulgarian server or something.
I have a few Bulgarian friends that are quite fond and into the game.
That's how Eastern Europe. Everyone has played it. Everyone I know.
100%. No, it's a great game.
It's a great game. It still lives on to this day. Amazingly. The multiplayer is still like 50 or 60,000.
100%.
100%. Not as much as it used to be back then, but it's still pretty much alive and going. After 20 years of
being out there. And even with the new game that came out, the 2.0.
The CS2.
CS2.
It's pretty much a reskin of CS:GO, but it's just running on a different engine, but it's still the same.
It's still good. Exactly.
It's still good.
The good stuff never dies.
Never dies.
Eastern Europeans, we are a bit nostalgic about the past, so we keep the good things from the past and let go of the bad things.
I very much agree.
So that concludes our episode for today. It was a pleasure having you here, and we held a very good conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Went very well. So to anybody else that has thought the same, please hit the like button. When you hit the subscribe button, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and we'll catch you in the next one.